Welcome to Advanblack's YouTube channel. I'm Steve, a service technician for Advanblack. Today, got something really cool to show you. It's a brand new product we just came out with, and it is the Alumaguard LED sequential turn signals with bright white running lights. Now, these LED inserts can be purchased and integrate right into our Advanblack handguards, which you can get color matched from Advanblack. We have one here with the LED turn signal already in it. On the inside right here, it's just going to have 3M tape where this sticks to the inside of this. You're going to take out your 3 rubber grommets out of the middle that allows airflow to go through there if you want to run these in summer. But these are going to be pretty well permanent once you put them in. So you stick them in, then you have the 3 bright white running lights on the outside here that are sequential turn signals as well. So when you hit the blinker, it's going to light up from the inside out, ultimately letting all the other drivers and riders out there which way you plan on going. So we already have the handguards over on the website for purchase. This is an additional purchase if you want to upgrade the handguard to the Alumaguard. It's a very easy install to do, and I'll walk you through that today from start to finish. But first, let's get over here to the table and see everything that comes with the Alumaguards. So over here on the table, you're going to see everything you're going to get in the Alumaguard package. You're going to have 2 of the LED inserts, 2 splitters, zip ties, and of course some alcohol pads for cleaning, and a nice little toolbox sticker kit comes with it. Now, if you already have handguards on your bike, this is all you're going to need right here to install them. But if you're installing our handguards and the Alumaguards at the same time, this is everything you're going to get with the handguards. We do have an install video on installing the handguards. It's very simple to do. You're going to have the included hardware. You're going to have 3 different brackets. You're only going to need 2 of these 3 brackets. You'll absolutely need the brake side, and on the other side you have the cable and the hydraulic clutch. 14, 15, and 16 has a hydraulic clutch. Everything else pretty much uses the cable clutch. You can see the distance is a little bit bigger on the cable clutch side. So determine what cable you have and then choose the right bracket for your motorcycle. Now, this is going to be the brake side. So this is going to be the right side. So it's going to be going this way. When we put our bracket on, you want to make sure that this piece is up and not down. You want to make sure it's up like this. We're going to push that on firmly. We're going to get 2 of the smaller 3mm hex screws out and 2 flat washers. Go ahead and put the washer on the bolt. The little blue Loctite. We'll get that one started. We'll get that one started. Now you want to do the exact same thing to the other side, but of course using the correct bracket for your bike. Now from here, we'll go ahead and take the rubber inserts out by just prying them out. You'll see that they're grooved, but it is kind of a soft rubber, so it does just flex out. Take our insert, we'll pre-fit it to make sure everything's okay. Just like that, everything looks good. But we're going to go ahead and clean the area where the sticky tape is, and we'll let that flash dry. Now we're just going to take our fingernail and we're going to kind of score the red side of that 3M. This just kind of helps activate the tape. This is suggested on the 3M website as well. Once we get it scored, peel that off. Make sure that we don't touch the underside of that. Any kind of oil from your hands can make this not sticky. Go ahead and line up the holes. Press it through. Once it's through, we're going to go ahead and press and hold for about 15 to 20 seconds. And that one's ready to install. Now on a Road Glide, you're going to use the existing hardware that's on here to install the handguard. On the Road Glide, the mirrors are up here on the purchase, so we're just going to use the mirror stem and the bolt that's with it. If you have a Street Glide, your mirrors are on the inner fairing, so you're going to use the included bolt, the flange washer that's on there, and the acorn nut. So we're going to take a 13mm. I'm going to loosen that, pull the mirror stem out. I'm going to grab our handguard, brackets on top, goes through the perch. Take our little washer, And then our acorn nut, just put it right back on like we just took it off. Now you will have to set on your bike, probably ride your bike a few times before you figure out exactly where your mirrors were and where you want them now with the handguards. The biggest thing on these is making sure that you leave enough room between the levers and the handguard to get your hand. You don't want this super close like this where you can't get your hand in through the side. Now, while most of us would reach up and reach over, you never know where your hand's going to be in that emergency time when you need to grab that lever. You may be coming in from the side. So always make sure that you leave enough room in here to get your hand in. So we can bump that out just slightly. Can make sure I can get my hand right in there. And we want to do that just to be safe. So we can tighten it down there. Now on the Road Glide, I'll show you how to take the outer fairing off, and we'll get these wires from the handlebars down here to these blinkers. So now we're going to remove the outer fairing on the Road Glide. First thing you're going to want to do is remove the speaker grill covers. Now I use a little plastic tool like this. Is for removing dashboards and stuff like that. Those come out just like that. You can see this side kind of just slides in, and then these two click in. We're going to do that to the other side of the bike. And we get those off. Now we're taking those speaker grill covers off because there's a bolt here and a bolt on the other side that we're going to have to remove. We're going to take a Torx 25 and remove the bottom bolt on the wing down here. We're going to do that on both sides. And right here on your blinker bracket on both sides, 3/16 Allen, we're going to go ahead and remove those. Once again, on both sides of the bike. We've got the 4 windshield bolts. You'll have to look at your bike to see what you have, but OEM standard just comes with a Phillips head screw. Now this top piece here, if you reach into the vent right here and pull up, this will pop out. You can see right here on the back side, these 2 white tabs that just go into the top of the radio bracket. The last 2 bolts are the bolts that are underneath the speaker grills. Those are going to be a Torx 30. So I'll go ahead and get these loose, but I won't remove them. Right here on the top is where your blinkers plug in. It's going to be the black, purple, and blue wires. We're going to go ahead and disconnect those. These run down to the blinkers on the side of the fairing. So we want to get those disconnected. Now standing in front of the bike, I just kind of put my weight on this fairing on the front. These screws that are already loose, we'll go ahead and remove those. Now our fairing is ready to come off the bike, so we'll just pull straight forward. So now that we have the fairing off, we're going to get our wire up in here inside the fairing so where we can plug it in. So the first thing we want to do is grab some of our zip ties that are supplied. We're going to run this over to our cable, and we're going to zip tie it to the cable. So from here, what I'm going to do is sneak this wire down. We're going to go right down in here into the forks. There's a hole here where we can fit this box through. So this wire harness does have this relay box that's built into it, but it is small enough to go through this hole. If you follow this brake cable down underneath the handlebars and in the nacelle, you'll see a hole right above the fork. You can push this box back through here, reach down here, pull it down and through. Just be gentle when you're pulling it through there, and you can get it to pull down here. Go ahead and take another zip tie and run it to your cable here so it pulls the wire up taut to that brake cable. So from here, we're going to remove the headlights. Very easy to do. You got a bolt here, a bolt here. If you look back in here, you're going to have another one here, same one on the other side. So these back 2, it helps if you got an extension to put on there, because you just kind of sneak it through the wires and then pull out the bolt. Now we got the bottom 2. Now these wires that are connected to this bracket up here, you don't have to pull those off. You can just let the headlight lay down. You don't even have to unplug the headlight. The goal is to get to this hole right here. This is where your wire harnesses come up through the frame into the fairing. And that's what we want to do with those two wires coming from the handguards, is run it along the side of the frame into this hole up in here and into the inside of the fairing. And we can put our headlight back. I'm going to get a light up in here and hopefully my hand, and you'll be able to see this. It's very tight, so I can't get the camera right in there. But if you follow this large harness right here up into, you'll see where the harness goes into the side. There's a hole right here. It goes into the frame, and that goes into that square that's on the front. There should be a large enough hole here to poke that wire and that relay through. So that's what we want to do next. So I've got the camera zoomed out right now so you can see where we are on this. I'm going to zoom in till you see this wire harness in here. And what we're going to do, you can see the harness where it goes from the side of the bike over into inside the frame. So if we take our box, we run it, we get it up here, we get all the wire pulled up here. You see that hole right there where the end of my finger is, where that harness goes through there. There's a big gaping hole right there that you can kind of push that harness up. You can poke this wire through, just kind of twist it and move it around just a little bit. You'll see that it just poked right through that hole. I'll kind of wiggle the wire so you can see where we're at. Now you can see that it came out right here in the middle. So we're going to pull this through just like that. And then of course do the same thing to the other side. So here's our left side and here's our right side. Now what we have to do is take this wire and come up here to the top. We want to be up here, so we're going to run this behind all of these other wires. Don't run it in the front. Make sure that you stay out of the way of this bolt hole and this bolt hole, because that's where your headlight bolt goes back in. So we're going to put that behind that. Same thing on this side. I'm going to bring it up behind all of our wires and come to the top. I'm going to drape it over to the side and just let it hang for now. Make sure that you're behind that bracket. Now we can reinstall our headlight. When we're putting this back, make sure that these pins on both this side, see how that pin needs to go in that hole. So we'll just kind of push that pin over a little bit until it's in the hole. Make sure it's in place. Now we're going to take our remaining zip ties and we're going to zip tie all of this excess wire up, but we want this plug to be right in here. So we can just kind of set this up here like this, and we can take this excess stuff and zip tie it off to another wire, part of your bracket, wherever you want to zip tie it. Now we're going to take our provided splitters. You got male and female ends from the bike. You're going to go ahead and plug the female into the male on the bike. Now you got a splitter on this side. We're going to take our female from the light to the male on the splitter, push it in, listen for the click. And now you have a female left over, so when you put the fairing back on, your turn signals from the fairing can plug in here and it'll all work together. So basically, to take the fairing off, we need this female plug to be right up in here. So when we get to that point where we're taking the fairing off a while ago, we can just reach up here and unplug these two. So make sure that this isn't buried way down in here and this line's going over to it. We want to just bring it right up here, right back up close to where the other one was. And we're going to go ahead and zip tie that off there. It'll make it easier for us to plug the fairing back in and then unplug it later if we need to remove the fairing. So just making sure we got everything else squared away so our fairing can go back on. Now we're ready to do that. So before I go grab the fairing, I'm going to pick up the two black bolts that go underneath the speaker grills here. So I have those ready in my hand. So when I walk this up, I can reach over and get two of these started. And those two will pretty well just hold the fairing on the bike. Now just having those started, it's loose, but it's on there, so it's held on there. You can also do that with the windshield bolts as well, but I just find myself having to take the windshield bolts out later So those are in, those are ready to go. So now all we have to do is plug in our lights. So before we get everything buttoned up, I want to go ahead and kick the bike on and test the lights. You'll see we've got the bright white running lights. They are on both sides. Sequential turn signals. We've got our turn signal working here. Turn signal on the fairing is working. Now from here, I'm just going to go ahead and get all of my bolts back in, get my fairing reinstalled. Now, after installing LEDs on your Harley-Davidson for the first time, you may experience what's called hyperflash. Your turn signals are going to be blinking the normal way, but on your gauges on the inside, they're going to be blinking super fast, and that's what we call hyperflash. There's a quick and easy way to get rid of that on the 2014 and newer motorcycles. So in layman's terms, hyperflash happens because your motorcycle thinks that you have a turn signal that's out. So the stock bulbs that come on these bikes are not LED, so they have a much larger amperage draw than the LEDs do. So when you insert an LED that has a way less draw on it, the bike thinks that the turn signal's out, and it hyper flashes on the dash to let you know, hey, you have a turn signal out and you need to check it. It's the same concept that's been on automobiles for years. First thing we're going to do is come over here and kick the bike on. Once the bike is on and it's booted up, we're going to run the hazard lights, and then we're going to turn the bike off. And when you first start it, your dash is going to be doing that hyper flash, and you can virtually watch it happen. It'll just slow down and start blinking evenly with the turn signals on the bike. Sometimes it happens fairly quickly, sometimes it takes 3 to 5 minutes. And I will tell you this, I found with 2017 and newer models, sometimes you actually have to start the motorcycle to get it to set. So you would skip the step, of course, of turning it off. Your step would be turn it on, start the motorcycle, run the hazard lights, let it run, kill the hazard lights, turn the bike off, and then it would be reset. But the standard way is ignition on, hazard lights, ignition off. Let them run, and you cannot cancel your hazard lights with the ignition off. So you have to kick the ignition on, cancel hazards, kick the bike back off. I'll also add another note on the 17 and newer bikes. I've had to do this 4 or 5 times, even with the bike running, before it actually took the reset. It shouldn't, but sometimes it happens. So that's pretty much it. It's all it takes to install our ILLUMIGUARD LED turn signals and running lights into our handguards. So if you want to get your hands on a set of these, make sure to check out Advanblack's website or get up with one of our dealers. They can help get you sorted out. Let us know down in the comment section below what you think about these LED turn signals in the handguards. I hope this video helped you, and if it did, please hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the Advanblack YouTube channel to stay up to date on our newest releases. I'm going to get out of here and get myself back to work. I hope to see you in the next video, but until then, as always, be safe, keep your knees in the breeze.